Hey everyone, how is it going? We had a bit of a technical issue earlier with the camera, but we're back on. So to be honest, first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining today. Um, no major announcements. I feel like the story is just unfolding. There's nothing really new to me. So what I'd like to do is take your questions. So if you have questions, start typing them in. I have Michael with me today. Michael, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great Memorial Day weekend here.
Yeah, and for the foreigners, they don't have Memorial Weekend today. But anyway, can you all hear Michael? And he's going to help with the question, facilitating the questions. So for those who are here, hello. You can start typing in your questions. And also for those who are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you keep getting these updates. All right? Doesn't cost very much, it costs nothing to you. And it helps me out to keep going with these things. Tell your friends and please subscribe. All right? So here we go. I feel like this whole situation is just unfolding as we had been talking the last few weeks, except that I feel like whatever plan it is, I feel like the resistance is stronger. I feel like people are speaking up. I feel like people are not buying it. I don't know how you feel. Let me know how it comes across to you and what your concerns are still, because I feel, again, for those who did not join the previous ones, go back and listen to kind of have a sense of what I've been talking about, what is coming up, what I feel is unfolding with this whole drama. And so I feel like people are responding, not buying the story, and therefore stalling a little bit the big plan, whatever it may be. Well, the one thing we know for sure is the vaccination, the mandatory vaccination, which would, and all these laws that are kind of infringing on our liberty and freedom. So I feel like this is where people are speaking up and saying, wait a minute, I'm not buying this. I'm not going for it. And it's great. And we should continue supporting those folks, because we're not saying that there is no virus. We're saying the way it is being, the narrative is strange. It's confusing, doesn't make sense, and it doesn't justify the new laws. It doesn't justify the infringement on my freedom. That is what is coming up here. So let's begin with questions. If anybody has any question, I'll be happy to start addressing those questions. Yes, the resistance is much stronger. Yes. Yeah, so I can see the question. Some people think the vaccine is helpful, but if you do a little bit of research, you will notice that it takes a long time for a vaccine to actually become available. And here they are trying to come up with a vaccine in a couple of months, in a few months. And if you do a little bit of resistance, we're reading the thing. If you do a little bit of research, you will see that what's making up this vaccine has not been tested, has not been accurately studied. And because of that, it presents a much bigger danger, obviously, than a vaccine that has been studied and used for years and years. So that is the problem with a vaccine. Not to mention, a lot of people don't believe in vaccines, so that's why we're talking about this. Okay? Michael, do you have any questions? Are there any questions?
No questions yet. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt you. People are still talking about that in the chat, definitely the concerns about vaccine.
Yes.
Someone did mention that in Germany, they decided that vaccination will not be mandatory.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. So I think that this is what's happening. I feel like this resistance, people speaking up and saying, wait, you want a vaccine? Fine, but I'm not buying it. I don't want it in my body. It's working. So some countries are doing that, which is fantastic news. And so, but other people are definitely going for that scenario. So it's going to be interesting how that's going to unfold.
I think another concern will be when the schools start in the fall and what's going to happen. Will certain states or areas make that mandatory if your child's going to go into the school again?
Exactly. And that's what I also heard, that it's not just the schools, but some companies. They're saying that, you come back to work when there's a vaccine. So, it's kind of a dilemma. So do you lose your job, or do you work at home when everybody else is working the office at the expense of taking the vaccine by force, so to speak? And so these are the rules that are still being worked out. And because not everybody's in agreement, even on a local level, on a community level, some areas don't agree with others. So that's going to be very messy, I think.
There's a comment in chat that says, I'm concerned that down the line it will be difficult or very impossible to visit family and loved ones in different countries without taking the vaccine.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about the last couple of times, because if certain borders won't open until you have that proof, well, then you won't be able to go there anymore. And so because of that, I think we're at the point where this plan, whatever it may be, those two narratives are still being worked out to see, do we go forward with mandatory across the board, or only certain states, or only certain communities? That is still being worked out. So it's kind of a fascinating time, I feel, to see what's going to happen.
Caroline, what would you say about fans that have family members that are still programmed and they're really talking negatively about things? Any advice for the fans out there?
Yeah, I mean, again, you can't convince others to believe what you believe. But what you can do is just show by example. You can just explain what it makes, how it makes sense to you, and let it go. Because the more you try to convince someone, the more the belief systems and the trigger come up. And so you're going to end up being butting head, and then they will lose that trust that they have in you. So I would say, just speak your truth and let it go, and trust that they will feel whatever they need. They will be guided whenever it's time for them. I feel like it's hard because we're living with them, we're close to them, we want to help. But honestly, I just noticed this works in any kind of relationship. The more we try, it's like you're trying hard. That is also against the flow. So that's the reason why I would say, just trust, but speak your truth, because you're sending out an energy and a vibration. And so they could pick up on that vibration, at least subconsciously, and eventually catch on.
Great answer. A lot of people are talking about that now. This might be a little bit of a longer answer, but Kim wants to know, what about resetting ourselves and how that works, the process we go through? Can you give us a Reader's Digest version of that?
Yeah, again, we talked a little bit about this last time, but the idea is you're resetting on so many levels. First, on an energetic level. Energetic means you have to work with vibration, you have to do the connection to source, the meditation, the alignment, the brain channels, always wanting to connect with a higher vibration. So that should be a daily routine no matter what. And then you do what we call an energetic hygiene. You want to flush out every single day the lower vibration, the negative vibration out of your body, whether you feel it, whether you feel you picked up something or not, it's still there. So just kind of flush it out every single day, I would say in the morning and especially in the evening. And then on a psychological, on a mental, emotional level, you want to take every area of your life. Spiritually, what kind of spiritual person do I want to be? Now, this type of resetting is more of an agreement. I would say it's like the new agreement with yourself. So I suggested last time that you begin to write down the new you. What does that look like? Spiritually, am I more connected to source? Am I feeling source more in my body? Am I expressing source? Whatever it is that is the next version of yourself, begin to spell it out. It's so important when you think it and then you write it down and you spell it out. And then, for example, emotionally, how do I want to respond to triggers moving forward? What is the new version of myself emotionally? Take every area and spell it out as if you are creating a character in a story, in a movie, okay? What does this character look like? How would they react in this situation? How would they react in that situation? What is my relationship with the material world? It sounds strange, but it's actually a part of you. How do I feel about my house, my furniture, my car, my clothes, everything? This is still a relationship that needs to be reset. Also, you can think about all the things, the creative things that you want to do. How did you used to create before? How do you want to create? How do you want to attract new things in your life moving forward? So all of these are chapters. Create one chapter for the new character and begin to visualize it. This may take a while. We're talking about resetting. It's not going to take in 5 minutes. It's a whole new being that is being born. So you've got to take these steps and do one step at a time, one area of your life at a time, and just go for it. But as you are writing, you also want to feel. Do you believe it as you're writing it? Is this possible? If you are believing it, then keep adding more and more and more words. But if you're not believing it, if they're saying, I will never be able to master my emotions when I deal with my parents or whatever. Well, as you're feeling this, you got to stop and shift it before you move forward, because you're writing something that you don't believe. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And for those who don't know, I have this amazing, I think, series online. It's called The Creative Formula. Go to my website, look at this creative formula, and it tells you how to create anything in your life, including your new self. I highly recommend people look into that class.
The link is up in the chat room right now.
Yeah.
I have another question here.
Yeah.
Bear with me, I'm scrolling.
Yeah, no worries.
One listener asks, I've been rereading The Divine Plan, Chapter 9 on
Yes.
geophysical events.
Yes.
How far are we into all those changes and shifts, and how do you see this timeline?
Yeah, again, I spoke about that last time. I feel we're pretty much on schedule, although, we're still having to see how this narrative are going to unfold. Because I said the natural disasters are orchestrated by a divine order. They're natural, they're not man-made. So these are the ones that are orchestrated to come in at the time where it's necessary. So last time I talked about a year and a half from now, it could shift plus or minus, depending on what's going on. But it's pretty accurate. I'm not sure if I have specific dates in that book, but I have kind of an unfolding, how one thing will trigger another thing, which will trigger another thing on a geophysical level. And so again, as you observe the economy, the politics, all the systems starting to crumble or to not crumble, the resistance, the infringement on freedom, the new laws that don't allow you to be who you are, at a crazy level. When you start to see wars, anytime you start to see that sort of intensity, you can expect that this is where a natural disaster is going to happen. And we're talking about the big ones, not just one isolated one. Does that make sense? And you see how it's all coordinated, it's all orchestrated to work together.
Bear with us, we're bouncing around a little bit, but I want to get everybody's questions answered if possible.
Yeah, for sure.
This may or may not be related to the previous answer and question, Caroline, but can you say something about surfacing of deep old traumas, possibly from other lifetimes?
Yeah, so part of the resetting that is happening, we talked about that also last time. I feel like a lot of unresolved, or the final chapter of things you've been struggling with or dealing with for years and years and years, even from past lives, are surfacing right now. They're surfacing again. It's almost like this is a transition period before the new you goes back into the new paradigm, if you will. And so this resetting time is for you to also address any outstanding issues, including past life. So that's the reason why I was talking about, if you have any sort of symptoms or weird things popping out of nowhere, or things that you thought you had mastered before, and all of a sudden, they're just showing up and you're like, wait, I thought I was done. This is just for you to address them once and for all, like I said, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, but also physically. If you are having any physical issues that you thought were under control, or new issues, that is what's happening. It's your body saying, wait, this part of your body needs to be addressed and reset properly before you move forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Here's a great question.
I'm curious, are people having those kind of new, we talked about this a little bit last time, but I'm curious if since last time, are people feeling those new physical issues pop up out of nowhere, Michael?
I'm looking in chat. I don't see much of that. A little bit, but it wasn't nearly as frequent as the last couple shows.
Yes, because people email me and say, I feel weird, I feel wobbly, I feel dizzy, I have weird digestive problems that I didn't have before. So that's why. Welcome them and put them in the context of resetting.
And anyone that's feeling that right now, don't be afraid to share that. This is a safe place here, and we moderate this chat to make sure that everyone's kind of protected. So sometimes these things are hard to talk about in public or online, but please share these things, because Caroline has a great way of working through these issues and identifying things that you or I aren't even sure of what's going on, their underlying factors.
And also on Wednesday, we're also discussing all of these things. And so I'm reading a little bit of the notes here, Michael, same as you. I feel like a lot of people have digestive problems. Again, the digestive problems usually relate symbolically anyway to emotions, but also, it's your system that allows you to take in information and to let go of what you don't need, right? I mean, and then take the nutrients, the stuff that you can use. So the digestive system is very, very significant, or at least symbolic, in this resetting. You are learning, it's wanting you to pay close attention to what you're taking in and what you are rejecting and what you are accepting as your truth. So if you put it in that context, maybe you can do a detox, maybe you can do a cleanse. So I would suggest to look at it from that perspective and see if it will help you move faster with the process, because it is kind of part of the bigger story. Same with the dizziness. We talked about the electromagnetic. They're very, very disturbing. I feel them myself. And so again, now, if you're so dizzy that you can't get up, okay, something's, maybe else is going on. But also the digestive problems are related to the dizziness. So make sure you identify the root cause. In fact, maybe in the next, Michael, in the next, when we do the next thing on Wednesday, we can start addressing the root cause of a specific physical problem, just for people to kind of get used to quickly going there so you can shift it very quickly. Okay?
Absolutely. And as Caroline mentioned, there's several factors involved. So it could be your environment.
Yes.
It could be your diet. It could be medications or drugs that you're taking. So oftentimes you need to identify those things before you can move forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And specificity, the more specific you are, the more accurate and quick you're going to be. Instead of like, in general, I don't feel good, I don't know what's going on, I'm going to release it. Yeah, it's good, but it's going to come back because you haven't identified, the actual root cause of that problem. When you do, you also learn about your pattern. You learn about the pattern, how you react to the environment, to being, and where you are storing that problem in your digestive system. So that's why specificity is so important in this shift. So on Wednesday, let's start focusing on that maybe, although I do want to discuss the topic of isolation and loneliness. We'll see how. But anyway, we'll start working with all of this on Wednesdays.
Absolutely. Here's another question that just popped up in the chat. How about did you mention a portal or some talk about that in the Middle East a few years ago?
Yes.
Is there any updates on that stuff? I've read things about that on the internet before, but I've never got your opinion of it.
Well, it's in the book. I talk about the umbilical cord of the planet being connected to the rest of the universe, specifically at a 33 and 34 latitude and 33, 34 longitude. And that ends up being in the Middle East. Or, I mean, it's somewhere, I think, between Cyprus and Lebanon and Israel. Kind of like that area, probably also Syria, which is interesting. This is where all the mess is, right? All these clashes. So that used to be the umbilical cord, and that connected. It's almost like this is the place where divine beings would incarnate. Jesus, hello. And so, and other beings as well. Before it was Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia, then it moved to that. However, since that time, since 2,000 years ago, it has shifted to a new point. Now, again, this point that I talk about is the entry and exit point of certain types of beings. It doesn't mean, because there's different kinds of divine beings that do different things. Specifically, the divine sons, the ones who are interested, you can read it in my books, come in through these specific portals. Others are near the Himalayas, the Gobi Desert. So different entry and exit point allow the incarnation or the appearance. They don't have to incarnate in a human body, by the way, but it's kind of like, because it's like the direct highway to where they're coming from, if that makes sense. And so these are the points that also have shifted around the planet. But this is the context within which, I mentioned that specific area. But interestingly enough, again, on a human level, like, as you know, when you look at the people on Earth, on the ground, in those areas, there's always some kind of political clash. It's almost like it's kind of a human way of blocking energetically the arrival of higher beings. But again, this is all shifting. So with the new grid, so where all the portals are functioning perfectly fine, and that's the answer.
This is my personal question. Do any of those things have any relation to ley lines or the geomagnetic features of the Earth itself?
Yeah, so you have to study my grid. I talk about the grid pattern around the planet. There's 3 grids within a larger grid, and so, but it wraps around the whole planet, and it divides time and space. It allows for communication and teleportation and time travel. So when you look at it as a hologram wrapping around the entire planet up to 7,000 miles above the surface of the planet, those points, those lines from space and into the Earth, by the way, they don't just like stop at the surface, end up corresponding with specific points on the surface of the Earth. So people can measure and see a correlation between those points and say, oh, here's a ley line. So it's kind of like a 2D way of measuring these things, but actually the ley lines and all the other lines correspond to those hologram-like, multidimensional, let's call it just three-dimensional for now, a multi-grid system that wraps around the entire planet. And so even those ley lines are just those kind of, like I said, what we are observing in a 2D way to notice, oh, there's geometry here. Oh, all of these points are in a perfect alignment. But because there's a new grid system in place, all of these lines that have been measured in ancient times have now shifted, because the old grid used to come in, for example, we talk a lot about the pyramids of Egypt of being one of those, points. Well, these were the ancient, or it's the old grid, but now with the new grid, all of these points have actually shifted slightly. And I talk about that again in the book and in the classes. And also in one of the classes I have, in fact, I think I can show you an animation of that grid. Can I play a video, you think, Michael?
Absolutely. I think you should pull that up and share the screen with everybody.
Yeah, let me.
Doing that, just want to thank everyone for watching all around the world. And again, if you like the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and support Carol and Corey.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that, Michael. Let me see if I can play this. And even the folks who know this animation, I still feel like this is a good refresher. As you re-watch this video I'm about to play, I hope the audio is good too. If it's not, just text me. But we'll post it as well. Actually, I may post it. We'll see. But the thing is, as you are observing it, why don't you intend for your physical brain to recognize and begin to align the points within space, above you and below you and around you, that allow you to have a direct connection to source or to the galactic core. And so use this exercise as that sort of refresher, and let's see if we can play this real quick. If it's not working, Michael, just let me know, okay?
You got it.
Okay, let's see. I don't know. It's not letting me show. Let me see. Let's see. Do you guys see my screen? Do you see the screen?
Not yet.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and let me know if you can hear clearly. Here we go.
Don't hear anything.
No, you don't hear? You don't hear anything?
I do not. And no audio, no sound.
No sound, okay. Okay, no sound, that's fine. We tried, but basically that's what it looks like. You see all these points are all around us. You can at least see the image, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna just so you see all of these points are in perfect geometry, and they match exactly your brain patterns. You see how they are? Your brain has the same geometry, so that if you align the points in your brain with the points in the grid, you have a direct link to the rest of the look at that. You see how all the lines become perfectly aligned. Now, by the way, this is mathematically accurate. We did this animation with the exact, you see how the light on the planet, so you see how when all the points, sorry, let me go back to this, when all the points are aligned with your brain, you see how you see one line, but actually you saw how complex it was. It was a bunch of geometry within geometry within geometry. But when you create an alignment between your brain channel and the space around you, you see all these openings. These are the openings that allow direct download with, other planets, other galaxies, and and the rest of the universe. And so this is a grid within a grid within a grid within the larger universe. Does that make sense? So that when you are here on Earth, you are never disconnected. You are never isolated. You are supposed to continue to communicate instantaneously. Kim was asking about reset. This is what I talked about when I mentioned the aligning the brain channels. Aligning the brain channels with the new grid system so that you download very, very quickly the higher information that's coming through. That's relevant to you and that's relevant to the universe. Was that helpful? I will see if I can post this for a short time, because this is taken from the movie, one of the movies that I have. So it was, yeah, I can feel it happening in my brain. That's so cool. And the more you train yourself to do that, and for those who are new, just go again. We're going to post that meditation. It's super. I made it so easy, so simple. It's called Connecting to Source. And as you're doing it, you think it's just a simple alignment. But I'm telling you, it's charged with specific frequencies and a specific alignment that will just connect your brain exactly in this way. And you will feel very strong and very centered just by doing that. So it's a little bit of training. And the more you train yourself, the quicker you're going to be. All right? So
and I just put that up in the chat room as well, that YouTube video. If you click on that, you can watch that short video.
Is that the Connecting to Source?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So Connecting to Source is the meditation that it's free. Please give it to all your friends. I made it 7 minutes. It's like super, super simple, and it does the trick. It has the specific frequencies, it has the brain alignment, and it helps you center and feel very strong and connected. All right. So any other questions? Let's see. If anything, somebody's saying, go ahead.
Let's see here. Just a lot of people are just thanking you for sharing that. That really helps. I was just going to say it, and then you did. It's sort of like our brains are an antenna, and you have to train it to be able to find that signal and align with those things. So the more that you practice, just like with sports or anything else, the more proficient you'll become at it.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. But not all meditation do the same thing. And I'm not just putting other meditations down. I'm just saying it's not the same thing. Not all foods give you the same vitamins. It's a little bit like that. So whatever because some people say, I already meditate, I don't need to do that. Well, it's okay. You can do your meditation. But if you want to specifically, very quickly too, align with the higher vibration of the new grid. New grid means opening to the source instantaneously. If you want to bring in source frequency very, very quickly and feel centered, this is the meditation that you should be doing. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. So any other questions?
Comments are going pretty fast now. Just,
yeah, you're having to kind of catch up.
Am I the grid as much as the grid is me?
People are seeing and taking picture of translucent moving orbs. Okay, so this is a very big topic. It has to do with different kinds of anomalies. And so I'm not going to get into it here, but the Earth Grid, again, I'm going to post this maybe on YouTube for a short time, like I said, because it's part of the film. But just for you to understand that these are the points that allow these orbs to come in, or UFOs or beings or whatever. That's the purpose of the grid, okay? Among other things.
I was going to suggest, why don't we make a short version of that, and then we can put it out on YouTube later, and we'll let people know when it's coming out.
Yeah, perfect. Will do. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up right now. So you have the meditations. You know what you need to do. This is, I feel, the most empowering time because you are reinventing yourself. And what's yet to come is the most important chapter in humanity's history and Earth's history. So I recommend that you take the time and do all of this work and continue speaking up and expressing yourself in what you believe in, okay? So thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much, and don't forget to subscribe. Either you click on the little icon at the bottom of the video or on the subscribe link. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye, everyone.